This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. This is the Human Rights Commission. It is Tuesday, June 15th at 5:03. We do not have a quorum yet, so the meeting is not officially called to order. But Councilperson Vicki Davis is going to introduce Chief Felt.
All right, so as all of you may know, the council was given a letter from the ACLU stating that our local police department was going to bring canine dogs to train at the Lakeview apartments. And this caused quite an uproar from people who didn't know quite what was going on. So I contacted Chief Felt and he was able to share with me some of the details. However, a lot of it couldn't be made public because he had to talk to the city attorney first and everything. So I thought tonight would be good to have him come and speak to us and kind of tell us what happened there. So here's Chief Felt.
All right, thank you, council members and chair and members of the committee. Thank you for allowing me to come tonight. And please know if you ever have questions or would like me to come to future meetings, I'd be more than happy to do that too. Yes, the kind of a little bit of history there is back on, I looked it up on April 30th, I received some messages from some concerned residents at the Lakeview Highrise apartments. And one of the residents contacted me through an interpreter. The other one contacted us, and in her own words, they said that they were scared about some of the activity that was happening at the apartments, people using drugs in the common spaces, paraphernalia being found in the area, and that type of thing. So I contacted Jill Bankston with HRA and just let her know that we had received those complaints. The initial plan was that we were going to do some increased patrols there to just, make our presence more known. And then also HRA was going to keep a better eye on things. They've got a camera system there. They have security there in the evening hours and that type of thing. But while we had some discussions, part of what we wanted to do was to do some additional community outreach. Again, we feel that anytime we can get citizens to know us as people, provide them easy access to us to provide information or voice their concerns or anything like that is a benefit to both them and us. And we came up with the idea of doing some canine demonstrations there. And this would be kind of the same thing that we would do at the schools, where we would bring in the handler, the dogs, at a known time, do it in a community area or on the front lawn or something like that. Because I'll be honest, the dogs they're our best ambassadors for the police department. We get a lot of people that, that really opens some doors for communications when you have dogs involved and that type of thing. So that's what we initially started out talking about, was to do that. And then the discussions came up about how we train our canines and that type of thing. And part of the narcotics training that the handlers do with the dogs is that they have a controlled amount of different narcotics that are assigned to them. They're locked up, they're weighed on a regular basis. The DEA has tight controls on them, but oftentimes they'll come into the office here and they'll hide them in my office or around the building, bring the dog and the handler in, and then they have to search for them. In talking with HRA, we thought they had mentioned that oftentimes they have vacant apartments that could be used for similar type training, which is a benefit for us because there's only so many times the handlers and the dogs can search my office before they both get accustomed to where they can hide things and where I keep my beef jerky and things like that in the office here too. So they offered that up. And in the discussions we had, we thought that would be a workable thing to do. The short version is that the HRA put together a letter that you may have all seen, that a picture was taken and sent to the ACLU, talking about that canine training and that type of thing. The HRA did the letter. I will say that they sent a copy to me, and I said, yeah, that would be acceptable to post, which they did. It was posted for about 2 weeks before we got an email from the ACLU, and at the same time was sent to the mayor, city administrator, all members of the council, and also the ACLU did media releases where they, I guess, in reading through it, they filled in a number of blanks that I didn't feel were accurate. And some of the statements that they made were kind of dramatic, I thought, but obviously someone had expressed a concern with them over the training and that type of thing that was happening there. So immediately, there had been no training that had happened there up to that point, and there has not been any since. We had not scheduled the canine demo yet. That's been put on hold. But in review from, with the city attorney and the concerns that were raised and everything, the plan is that we are not going to be doing any training at the high rise there. We certainly want people to feel comfortable with us. The plan was not to run the dogs up and down the hallways smelling for drugs like the letter insinuated and that type of thing. And just for members of the commission here too, that even if our officers were walking up and down the hallways on another complaint and smelled the odor of marijuana or something in the hallway, that alone is not enough to get a search warrant to go into an apartment and issue tickets or make arrests or anything like that either. So, anyway, it caused, some concern there. We still want to do community outreach there. We still want to do some kind of a canine demo, but what we may do is move that to Bria's Park, which is, right across the street and down the corner there. So that's in a common area, accessible to most everybody that, within walking distance of the Lakeview Highrise and that type of thing. So we just have to figure out a good time to do that. But I apologize that it caused the concern. We did have Councilmember Davis and Osk reached out to me along with one of your commission members, and I wish I could have said everything right then about what our plan was and everything, but like Councilmember Davis relayed at that point, the ACLU attorney was involved, the city attorney was involved, and it doesn't information doesn't flow as freely when you have to go through so many people. So our intent was not to be deceptive on this. We truly had good intentions with it, but obviously it wasn't perceived that way. So we want to make sure that when we take action now that it's better worded and that type of thing with the public. HRA said that they had the notice posted, and the only feedback they got up to that point was a couple residents that were anxious to see the dogs. So they hadn't received any negative things or any concerns prior to that, but they're aware of this now too, and we'll kind of restructure and go from there. I don't know if the commission has any questions. I'd be more than happy to help out on that.
Thank you. I do see we do have 2 more commission members who have joined us, so I will officially call the meeting to order. So it's in the minutes, but we'll continue with Chief Felt. Any other questions or comments for him?
Chief Felt, has there been a discussion around, or let me turn my camera on so you can see me.
Do you want to state your name too, please, since it's recorded, please?
Sure, this is Ben Larson. Has there been a discussion around, I think in the past this would have been like a good community thing, but not all cultures or people like dogs. I think, I have family members that are deathly scared of dogs. They've either been bitten before or, have had bad experiences. Has there been any discussion around that?
A little bit of discussion there that with that concern is that we would post it, when it was going to take place specifically, be in a common area where it would be off to the side where people it wouldn't be like the front lobby where anybody coming and going would have to go through. We would do it off to the side or something. But yep, certainly understand that there are some cultures and people that are sensitive to that. So we certainly want to be accommodating to that too.
All the working dogs that I've ever had contact, that I've ever had contact with have been extremely well trained when they're running those types of drills. If there's anybody around, they're always on a leash. If they're off leash for any reason, when they're called, they come right back. It's not like they'd be running around just willy-nilly. They're as much professional as their handlers.
Yeah, correct. They are kept under very close watch and make sure that everyone is safe there. And fortunately, that we can't rely just on the temperament of the dogs, but the dogs that we have now are you know, they have turned them loose in a room full of preschoolers and have done just fine. But obviously, we're not going to. We take precautions there too. So.
Thank you. So as far as of now, the training is off permanently or just temporarily?
The training at Lakeview is off, I would say permanently, that our intent is not to do training in the vacant apartments there. But our hope is to still do public demo and that type of thing in the area.
I'm having some issues with my dog. You can take my dog if you want. I think, yeah, I think my main concern when I looked at it is I knew that you definitely had good intentions, but that letter was just so forcefully wrote. You know, if if we could just change how that was wrote, because it made it seem like if you just read the letter, you're like, oh crap, like they're coming in whenever they want, no notice, nothing, searching the hallways, all the common areas, like that was it was freaky for me to read that, but I knew you, and I've had really positive interactions with the police department, but there's probably a lot of people that don't know you and then maybe have not had, you know, as positive experiences. So that letter would be scary, I think, to some people if they read it.
Yeah, and in reading through that, I can't speak for the person that wrote it, but I think there was a lot of frustration with things up there, and they were hoping that some of that wording would maybe scare people a little bit, and obviously it did, you know. So yeah, that probably, if it was worded differently, probably would have had totally different effect.
Oh, Chief Felt, I want to say thank you to you and your department for always trying to be in the public and in the community so people can be familiar with you. And to me, that is what will make people not be afraid of our police. And that's what we need right now. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much for that. Needless to say, COVID was tough on all of us because we wanted to be out and interacting on a much more personal note, and we had to stop coffee with the cops for a little while and, you know, some things like that. But, you know, one thing we talk about the department here is that the public trust, we were fortunate to live in a great community. We have a lot of good public trust, but we realize that we have to keep earning that every day. That's something that, you know, can change rapidly. So we definitely want to continue to work on that. And, you know, thank you for your kind words on that.
Yeah. Again, thank you. And thank you too for always being so responsive when people come to you with questions or want more information. We do really appreciate you making yourself available to answer that question. I mean, like Ben said, it is unfortunate that the way that was written, that it escalated, and maybe it wouldn't have needed to, but it, you know, comes back to communication, and unfortunately, the way the communication went out this time with the way it was posted, it did not, it could have been a better outcome, but I think, you know, I do appreciate, and the commission appreciates you coming to help clarify some of that also. Is there more stuff going on with the ACLU, or were they satisfied with the response that was sent by the police department and the city? Do you know?
Great question. They asked for any correspondence that HRA, excuse me, and I had regarding this. That was all sent to them, the emails talking about, you know, some of the concerns about drug use and about the plans for, you know, the community outreach and that type of thing. And in all honesty, we sent all that information to them and have not heard anything since. They have not posted anything on their social media as far as an update or done any media notifications there for furtherance of it. So it's kind of, it disappeared in the wind after we sent that, as far as I know. Nothing else has been relayed to us.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions for Chief Felt? Okay. Again, thank you. I know you had another commitment tonight, and so you were here for a short time. I really appreciate you making time to come to visit with us tonight. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And please, anytime you have questions, let me know. And we are your police department, and we really appreciate that. And we count on the great working relationship here. So thank you again for having me on tonight.
Yep. Thank you. Have
Thank
a good
you.
night. Yep. Bye. Okay, so I did call the meeting to order as the members came on and we made a quorum. I am wondering if people had a chance to review the minutes from our last meeting, which was March 16th, and if there's a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, Ben makes a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded.
Okay, Justin. Okay. Any other discussion? Any other comments? Okay, there's a motion and a second. Although to approve the minutes from our March 16th meeting, all those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, any opposed? Okay, passes. Are there comments from the public? I see there's, well, technically 2 guests. John, you're still a guest. Are there any public comments? Okay. John, I will just kind of do a basic introduction as you are on the city council meeting, from what I understand, for approval at the next city council meeting, which is June 21st. But do you want to just give a brief introduction of yourself?
Sure, glad to do that. Hi, everybody. I'm John Dahl. Have lived in Wilmer for 13 years, and during that entire time have served at Bethel Lutheran Church as pastor there. So downtown Wilmer is where I've worked the entirety of my time here in Wilmer, and that's been a great experience. And I look forward to joining this commission and being involved. So glad to be able to join you tonight and kind of get a sense of how you do things and some of the topics that are before us. So yeah, that's kind of it in a nutshell. Married to my wife, Sarah. We have 4 kids. 1 is at the Wilmer Middle School. 3 are at Kennedy Elementary here in town. So that's kind of the scoop on me. I think I know most of you or am aware of all of you. So look forward to joining the group officially at the next meeting, if the council approves me next week. Yeah, thank you, Justin.
Justin's saying it's 50-50.
Right.
We'll see how it turns out. So thank you, John, and thank you for your interest in the Human Rights Commission.
You bet.
I did have a follow-up conversation after our last meeting with the Community Resource Director from the Minnesota Human Rights Commission. And he had he was a little bit distracted when we were talking, because the George Floyd trial was, the Chauvin trial was on. And so he kind of had an eye on that, but we were talking and he really stressed education and community education, and offered the Minnesota Human Rights Department as a resource for training, providing speakers if we wanted, kind of parallel as we are talking about training. The Vision 2040 Inclusion Committee is also talking about anti-racism training. And that at the same time, the Blandon Foundation is doing statewide training on racism. So this week, members of that inclusion committee are previewing a video that was produced through Blandon from Itasca County that has some race-related issues, to present that video and a community discussion following the model that Blandon is doing, rather than completely recreating our own work. But we are doing that this week, and then that committee meets again the last Wednesday in June, and we'll decide when the next step of that community training would be. But tying it in with Vision 2040, they then can provide some of the resources to help both facilitate that, pay for that, advertise for that. And the training from Blandon has been ongoing for nearly a year, and is already developed, versus trying to get other resources and develop our own. But we did want to preview it first before we offered a training, because if it won't address topics that are happening in the Wilmer community, we don't want to bring that training. We don't want to do that training. Then we'll shift to the human rights, the Minnesota Department of Human Rights, and get some speakers from there. So that's what's happening with the training. One of the other suggestions that Adele from the Minnesota Department of Human Rights suggested was, because there were some topics about some issues with nonprofits, the Minnesota Nonprofit Council might also have some resources to go to if there are certain nonprofits that are feeling like they need some more help with training or other legal resources. He suggested that route, and I thought that was a good suggestion. The Minnesota Department of Human Rights doesn't have any actual legal resources or assistance like that, but the Minnesota Council of Nonprofits may. So that was helpful. And he also made himself available if we feel like there are other issues that we would want the Minnesota Department of Human Rights to address specifically, we can circle back to them and get more advice and or help, or like I said, a speaker to come out and address specific topics that we feel like are happening in the area, etc. Are there any questions about that conversation at all? It was helpful. I mean, it was helpful to know kind of what the Department of Human Rights has and what we can access if we need more training resources or speakers. But I think the Vision 2040 group is going down the path with the Blandon training right now. So that we are checking that out, and we'll move forward with that if that's appropriate for our community.
What are some of the specific subjects or areas of concern that that they're putting forth, and how do they relate to what we have now or might have in the near future in our community?
The Blandon?
Yeah. Whatever we have available for that education.
It's talking about some racial issues and hate issues that are happening specifically in, some little cuties waving at us, that are happening in Itasca County, and they are addressing some of those, and it kind of came to a head with their school board, because it was within the school, within the town, And Thursday night is when we're watching the video to see what, what the exact issues were. But it has to do with, I think it's Pequot Lakes. I think that's the town, but because I have done some of the pre-reading for it, and we'll know more after we preview the video, but it has to do with race and some, not hate crimes, but some hate issues that were arising in their town revolving around race.
Like verbal assault or verbal confrontations or disparities as far as housing or jobs, or is it narrowing it down, or hate
I think
graffiti?
it will. I think it's verbal. I think it was some verbal confrontations that were happening, but that is what I'm picking up from the pre-reading. I tried to go online and watch the video ahead of time and it wouldn't let me. It's protected. So it's, kind of, because there is a discussion guide that goes with it and questions, and it's meant to be interactive with discussion. So it isn't like you can just go to YouTube and watch it. So we are scheduled to watch it Thursday night, I think. So.
Okay, and all right. Did we get an email about that? I'm in Michigan. I've been away from.
Okay, I will re-forward that again. So,
Okay.
because yes, all of you are invited to preview that as well. I will find that email again and resend or send again. So, I still have had some discussion with Mayor Calvin regarding the chair position. Vicki or Justin, have either of you found out any more about that from him? Okay. Hopefully by the next meeting we will know more about that. Is there other business or other topics that need to come up tonight to the Human Rights Commission?
The only one thing that I don't know if I'm anticipating them. I don't know exactly how the eviction privilege that landlords have or had and has been put on hold. I've been away, so I don't know if that legislation has it passed that they can reenact that they can evict people now, or is that still on hold or yet to be voted on? Does anybody know?
I think what I heard today on the radio is that there is agreement on that, tied into, it's all tied into passing the budget, but there has been some movement on both sides, but that it would extend through Labor Day. Is that what others have heard today on the news?
Yep.
Okay, well, that's one aspect of human rights that, within our own community, as far as landlords. My line of work, I hear about that all the time. And, I think it would be, if that landlords start evicting people and we do not have equitable homeless programs, it would be a big concern of mine. It is a big concern of mine. We'll keep,
I
I'll try to keep an eye on that.
I think in the agreement, there was still a lot of protections. I don't think they could evict people until like June 1st of next year or something like that, for at least for late payments.
Okay. Well, that's
A lot of gray there.
yeah, a lot of gray area, but I'll try to be a little
Right.
more keeping that information fresh in my head.
Right. I do know that is one of the main focuses for Governor Walz. You know, I know he is not, or that is, you know, one thing that one of his top priorities. So, and it was talking about all these days, and maybe it was Memorial Day. Maybe that was the date next spring, Ben. Maybe that's what they were talking about. They were talking about something at Labor Day and something at another holiday and then something at Memorial Day, but that nothing would happen before fall, before Labor Day. So. Any other issues that anybody would like to bring forward? Ben, do you have something? You look like you want to talk.
When we get a chairperson, could we schedule a visit with the sheriff and to have a discussion around how much of their budget is coming from ICE?
Okay. 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 Any other topics?
Can we start meeting in person?
I think that's up to this commission. Part of the problem, now Janelle and I discussed this before the meeting today, is the Historical Society is not an ideal place to meet because of access to that building. But Janelle, is there another place we could meet?
Could meet at the city office building in one of their conference rooms. That would be the alternative. Would work.
Okay, would that be big enough for the 6 feet apart distance for this commission? Would that work?
I would say not if we need to continue to follow this social distancing. It would not. We don't have a room large enough there. So
Yeah, let's just not then. This works, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, we just had an update. Of course, you know, my office is in a retail world and we're still in that world right now, following the 6 feet rule because of our retail rules through the CDC, but I didn't know if that was for everybody or not. I am not able to meet in the July date, which would be the third Wednesday in July is July 20th, and I'm not able to meet that day. But we could schedule a meeting, or we could meet in August and hope that we have a chair and that issue is resolved by then. What would the commission like to do?
Either way works for me.
I'm sorry, what did you say, Levin?
Either way works for me. I'm
Okay.
pretty open.
The August date would be August 17th.
I like that date. I'm pretty sure I'll be in town that month.
That's by then? Okay. So and possibly we could move to an in-person by that date. That's 2 months. August 17th at 5 o'clock, is that consensus? And the goal would be to meet in person, a meeting place to be determined.
Okay.
That work?
Yes.
Okay. Any other items? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, Richard, is there a second?
Seconded.
Loben? Okay. We have a motion and a second. to adjourn. Here, no further items. All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye. John has a guess there too. Opposed? Thank you. Thank you for everyone. We are adjourned at 5:38 and we'll see you on August 17th at 5 o'clock. So thank you.
Thank you. I apologize for being late, but I'm glad I made it.
Yep. Thank you very much.
Okay.